Hopefully, you're having a great Friday today. We're going to jump into the top AI companies that are making moves right now that we want to pay attention to for the upcoming week, and also get a recap of where the companies are moving right now as we ended the week with some historic moves towards the end of the week. You guys can see some stuff behind me. We had the final amount of our appliances we ordered for the kitchen come in. So that's why we got some random stuff here in the background. So hopefully that makes sense. Now we're going to jump right in. I wanted to cover some top stocks that we're watching right now. One of the companies that I've been investing in that has been serving the world with a lot of what is driving the AI boom right now is going to be AMD stock. So AMD, we actually don't have any short-term positions right now. We have some long-term positions on AMD stock, and we don't have any other agenda for AMD to really, other than focusing on what's happening with their company. We know that they recently got to some highs, and we're going to be watching them there. We got what we see as revenue increasing quarter over quarter. Why are they increasing their revenue quarter over quarter? Why are they increasing their revenue year over year and their net income increasing? Those are indicators that oftentimes help us identify a good deal in the stock market. Seeing the income statements, seeing them look good, seeing the balance sheet, the total assets surging to 69 million with liabilities at just 69 billion in assets with just total liabilities at 11 billion. It's because of the focus on the intrinsic value. What we've seen is while their PE ratio is kind of high, they've been trying to make this full recovery up into previous highs. So I'm going to continue to watch them for a few reasons. Number one, we have this recent acquisition of Brium, which is an open AI type competitor that is for, you could see the Brium inference on AMD GPUs here, where they're basically a company that is able to build out this type of technology, this technology that can have large language models run more efficiently. And AMD recently bought the company. So you can see AMD bought them. The other big thing is AMD with Starlink. So AMD is not directly related to Starlink, but they're connected because AMD provides these Versal chips here. These Versal chips are getting put into the Starlink satellites, AMD's chips, and that is something that we're anticipating is going to continue the growth of AMD. Now, the other thing, we just recently saw that GPT-5 released. And, when it comes to AI, we use it here over on Mercatus. So for projecting future analysis, we love to use GPT, and they just announced GPT-5. So we have recently embedded with the GPT-5 API. It's going to most likely become even better. And so basically what you could do is we could search an asset. We could search AMD here. I'll just, jump in. We're using the OpenAI right now. We can also use Grok if we'd like, as we just added Grok to the mix for this machine. And so, we're getting the future chart, we're getting the analysis. We're going to also probably add some widgets in here by the early next week, which is exciting. But again, we're getting like the relative financials. It's pulling all of the news. It's looking at the verifiable sources, the press releases, and it's getting together some through GPT-5, OpenAI, this new projection. So fairly green. It's looking bullish over the next month or so, next 3 months or so. It looks pretty bullish. And even the next year, it's looking like it's projecting AMD to get up into this range around $197 a share. Now, it says that they got some growth in what seems to be related to their R&D, which we do see they're starting to build out. They have new products. They are building into data centers. they have a big share in the CPU and GPU market. And so it's starting to grow, at least. They're getting up there to competing with NVIDIA. And so that's why we're kind of focusing there on AMD stock. So we do have some interesting moves recently. They've been in this trend where they've had this uptrend continuing, finding these supports and continuing to run. And yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, we pointed out this support here around $160. We're looking for them to validate that previous resistance, and they did exactly that. We saw them validate it and actually continue up. Now they're coming up on that 200-day moving average, trying to continue that run up into $186 a share. And so we can take a look. We can actually even jump in. I'm going to just hide all the drawings, hide everything here. You kind of see the overall validation of what's happened with AMD. You know, I could go back to the YouTube. I don't know if I can find the content here. Let me see. If I search AMD, you know, for months, I could go back to December here. You know, we're in December, right around Christmas time, and into January. You know, we're talking about, hey, this thing could turn bullish. We could see AMD really turn bullish. We've been talking about it for a couple months now, really about 8 months. But really, we started seeing them reporting earnings, doubling their earnings, and still selling off. So we're looking for this recovery here. And we saw it from $76 a share up to $172. And now they're getting up into highs. We're starting to see if they can continue this trend and get back into what would be all-time highs for AMD. Now, pretty bullish. You see that they've recently pushed up big time on the MACD and the RSI. And so that's where we're watching them right now. Why we like to invest in them is because they're, you know, a big part of data centers, big part of Starlink, a big part of the growth of AI is going to be driven by AMD. So that's why we continue to invest and follow them. Now, there's some other stocks we're going to go over here. I also wanted to pull up the live chat so I could actually see you guys. Can't say that I could see the chat right now. Just give me one moment here as I pull it up. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's Friday? I know it's, you know, kind of day is winding down today. We're getting into, you know, later part of the day on a Friday. Maybe things are getting tired. I know it's super hot here in California. Really hot outside. I don't know. It's 95 degrees here in Northern California. So very warm. You know how it is in the other spots where you guys are at. We got, let's see, BBAI. So people saying, good to see you. Good to see you too. Thanks for tuning in. Jerion says, hey, Will. Michael's in there. Yeah, David is in there. David says, yo, Will, are you going to talk about CTM earnings? Would love to. Let's talk about it. So we ended up buying big into CTM, and we've been covering them for a couple months now. They came in with their earnings today, and they came in positive. So what we've been watching with CTM is this continual growth here. And I think we have some drawings here. We've been watching them build their market cap. And they just came in with some good earnings. Mark, thanks for tuning in there. What's going on, Mark? Happy to have you here. Steven, how's it going, man? Appreciate you. Robin, glad to see you here. And Matt, what's going on, Matt? Nice day to add to space stocks. Yeah, we were just talking earlier. Matt and I were talking about space stocks. Quite bullish in that sector right now. So, you know, when we're looking at the growth of CTM, they are a defense company. And, you know, more or less, they have these levels that we've been mapping out. It almost looks kind of complicated the way I'm mapping it out. But basically, you know, this is a support. It's a rising support level. Okay, and we can kind of see that rising, that bottom support there. Then up here, you got this rising resistance level. This is also a smaller level. And then the higher level is up here in that $1.84 range. And then you have about a $2 range with that higher resistance. And so, you know, we have some long-term positions here in CTM around 80 cents a share. And we're also looking at them today as they have a small market cap. So I would urge caution when looking at them. They're about $100 million market cap. And essentially what they do is they have this cybersecurity that they do that is for the US government. They have federal customers. A lot of the contracts that are coming out right now, at least from a government perspective, pretty heavily focused there on defense and tech and AI and energy and sustainable energy. And so Castellam Inc. is in cybersecurity. They have some focus on AI and machine learning as well. And they have secured a $100 million contract earlier this year. And so we've kind of been watching that contract and we said, hey, they've secured that contract when at the time they were only at a market cap of 100 million or less. I think it was about 80 million. So this is, you've probably heard me say this if you're following CTM, unless you're just joining us for the first time. But when a company secures a contract that is bigger than their current market cap, you have to pay attention. It's like APLD. When APLD signs a $7 billion deal, or now $10 billion deal for building data centers, when they were, not even a $2 billion market cap, we had to pay attention. And what do we see? We see them surge, 75% or more. And when we see CTM sign contracts of $100 million and their market cap was at 80 million, we had to pay attention. And so now we see, without focusing on stocks that are, let's say hype, everybody's talking to them, talking about them, everybody's, hyping them up. You can go on YouTube, probably see 100 videos of people saying, buy this before it's too late. It's 100x stock. You can retire on this stock, or whatever it is that you'll see online. It's very common. And a lot of it is fabricated. It's important to focus on value. And so one of the things in any endeavor, whether it's, analyzing a company or starting your own business or whatever you're looking at doing, being able to identify the real world usage and also the consistent revenues in the market. So they're in a growing market of defense. They are doing cybersecurity. We see their revenue increasing year over year here. And this is their income statement. And we can't see it here, but they just came out with their earnings today. And in their earnings today, we can kind of see what it looks like. But they came in with $14 million in revenue. I think it was, or was it more? It might have been even more. We'll have to see here. I think I got to pull up the news here. Let's see. Let me double pull it up. That's like a stock for a gun. That's funny. So they just came in with their earnings, and they came in with some really good earnings today. And I was trying to, maybe I can go direct. I think I'll just go direct to the source. Let's just go back to the source here. Here we are. Reports quarterly earnings. Here we are. So again, revenue came in at $14 million. A record quarter, reflecting a 19% increase. So just to kind of put that in perspective, last quarter they were 11.6 million. They came in with 14 million in revenue, so they increased their revenue. And not only that, they also cut their total debt by 3.7 million in the quarter. And their total net income was narrowed significantly to just 0.4 versus 0.1 in the previous quarter. And so their balance sheet has a record cash balance now, 14 million. And they have been very disciplined with their balance sheet. So we saw them reduce their debt, their liabilities, and increase their assets. So they are having a really nice balance sheet. So essentially, that's what we see happening with CTM. See them targeting this $1.50 or $1.50 range. They went up about 5% today. They've gone up about 10% in the last few days. And we're looking for them to make this run up into $1.50. It's a 30% swing from current prices. It's about a 15% swing. And really, I'm looking, the greater image here is really to see this move, a 30% increase to a 50% increase up in this $1.50 to $1.80 range. So we're just watching CTM stock as of now, kind of seeing it slowly build that market cap and continuing to come out with some good earnings there. TJ says, what do we think of APLD? TJ, what do you think of APLD? Curious to know. Also got expectations of BBAI. What are my expectations of BBAI? I'd really be curious to know your expectations, Juan. We've come out with a lot of videos. I would love to hear your expectations, and I'd be happy to share my perspective. McCree says, I'm hoping BigBear.ai will make their earnings goal and we'll see it next week. Yeah, if they come in with that $40 million revenue, they had a big surge today, about 8%. SoundHound had really good earnings, and they came up 26% today. So really nice to see. Steven says, TJ, I look at NVIDIA, APLD, and CoreWeave like the Avengers. In their North Dakota enclave, CW is Thor, NVIDIA is the Hulk, and APLD is Iron Man. If you ever need another perspective, just talk to Steven. Steven will give you that perspective on APLD. All right, and then curious on the perspective of SEALSQ. Appreciate it, Thomas. Thomas, so you've been waiting for a pullback there, and you're wondering what I think about it. All right, so AI stocks are in an unprecedented time. So let's start off with this this outlook on Juan Sanchez. He says, what are your expectations for BBAI? Juan, very simply put, BBAI is building an infrastructure. They're building their very scan technology that is biometrics, facial scanning, recognition software that's going out at all the major airports. Their revenue is still very small, and their market cap is still pretty small as well. And they're tackling a market that could put their market cap into about $5 to $15 billion if they're among the likes of Leidos or other companies that are comparable. And right now, I think their market cap's around $2 billion. So, I mean, we're looking at if they continue to execute and are chosen as one of the top companies, which they have good contracts there with the Department of Defense and Homeland Security, that with the upcoming World Cup and all that stuff, they're in a very nice position to be able to continue the growth. So I think BBAI, with the earnings, I couldn't tell you. They might come out with great earnings and still sell off. I don't know what BlackRock's going to do. I don't know who's going to buy and sell. I think from a longer term institutional value perspective, we'll see them attract more market cap. From a shorter term market cap perspective, it's really just value, looking at the moves that are happening and being able to have a plan together for the shorter term trades. Keith says 2 billion market cap for 40 million in revenue. It makes no sense. Well, I mean, it's not 40 million in revenue, right? It's like 40 million a quarter in revenue. So they're not 40 million a year in revenue. They're 40 million a quarter in revenue. So they are bringing in on track to have revenue of about 200 million plus in 2025. They got about $400 million in assets, 200 million in liabilities. And Keith, when it comes to the size of their contract, seeing their market cap at 2 billion, it's better for them to fill a value that's given to them versus having them try and like, it's better for them to be in a position to be justifying than it is to not be justifying their value. Because ultimately, we have earnings coming up that they had mentioned that their revenues were expected to increase and that they didn't count all of the money in their bank account basically because they hadn't received it. So it's quite possible, Keith. It doesn't necessarily make no sense. I mean, you could look at a company like Lucid, for example. Sorry, Matt, I don't want to bring this one up. But like annually, they're losing $2.8 billion. They're losing 2.8 billion. And their market cap's at 6 billion. Does that make sense? Doesn't quite make sense, right? So I mean, there are times where things do not always line up. You could look at Rigetti, you could look at IonQ, who both are quantum companies that have less revenue than BigBear, that are making a higher market cap. So I don't know that that's going to be too much of a concern there. It is part of their value delivery, and that we see that market cap continually increase. Are we still in the early era of the AI golden age, or have we already missed the train if we aren't heavily invested in the sector yet? That's a great question, and I would say we are in a golden age right now. This is definitely a time when, like, if there was any time to start a business, to build a company, to try and do things in a way that was new and exciting, right now would definitely be the number one time in history to be looking at companies for investing and things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say we're in a golden age. What a crazy move Rocket Lab had today. Yeah, what did they do today? TJ? Curious. Space tech, and I want to answer those questions we had up there. Rocket Lab dip and then recovered. Did they spike and then sold down? They had earnings yesterday. Maybe that's why they were volatile. Yeah, so they dipped down to 40 and then shot up to $50 and then pulled back to 44. Yeah, that is a volatile day for sure. So, when it comes to the other question we had, there's an AI stock question. And the question is, curious on the perspective on SEALSQ, okay. And then TJ says, big fan of APLD. What do you think of APLD? I mean, some of the bills that we've seen pass recently, like the Stargate bill. Stargate project, that was a $500 billion initiative. That's for building advanced AI infrastructure in the United States, talking about large scale data centers. You got OpenAI, you got SoftBank, Oracle. Almost every single company that I've seen report earnings, from Apple to Nvidia to, Tesla to Microsoft, all said that they were planning to invest more into AI. And in what form? Most likely building data centers. Like another one that happened, Apple was basically kind of forced out of, it's changed a little bit, but they got to not rely so much on China, for example. And so then Apple, this is direct from the source, Apple here, spending $500 billion in the next 4 years in the US to build these factories, and what most likely will be related to manufacturing. They talk about here US manufacturers. They also talk about here Apple suppliers already manufacture silicon in 24 factories across 12 states. So their chip game, Apple's chip game, most likely they're going to bring it into US. Here we are, energy demands. Check this out. Apple data centers, which already run on 100% renewable energy, they're planning to expand. So why is that important? When you see this, Apple 500 billion, then you see Stargate, then you see OpenAI, and you got SoftBank and Oracle putting money into this. Why is that? most likely you're going to look at the development of data center construction. And so data center construction is going to come in the form here of APLD stock. So APLD is getting some partnerships to build data centers. And they're kind of at a high right now. We've seen them push up to $15 a share. They recently pulled back, but we've seen them get up into that $34 a share back in 21. But what we've seen now is a consolidation, kind of building out their market cap, trying to find support at this previous resistance here at about $14 a share. Now, this company builds the data centers for CoreWeave. This is a $7 billion deal that recently was upgraded to, I think, 10 or 11 billion. And they're also partnered with a lot of, so they construct the data centers, but they're partnered with companies, right? They have partners. They go to the wind turbines, they go to the solar and all those things. So now they're building out partnerships with Supermicro, with NVIDIA, and Dell, Intel, and Hewlett Packard. And so it just really puts them into a position to be able to really be one of the main players. So if there was ever a market, APLD would be in the right market. So they're still small market cap relative to data centers and AI. They're about 3.7 billion. Their annual revenues were increasing, but their net income was negative. Their balance sheet has looked good with their assets outweighing their liabilities, but their liabilities fairly high, probably because of the construction. So we're watching them closely and we're looking for them to continue to go. So, I mean, to answer your question, Tyler, I would just say it seems like from a perspective of the market they're in and where all the other companies are going, they're going to need to construct data centers. And I see some institutional interest. You got BlackRock and Vanguard. You got State Street increasing their positions there. And we got more increases than decreases. Seems like there's going to be some more growth there for APLD in the long term. So that's kind of what we're watching there. Now we're able to catch some really big moves on APLD. We're actually up about 50% since entry. And we're looking for them to really validate this $15 price point as a support, or this $14 price point as a support, and see them continue to make that move and kind of break out as they're trying to do from this trend right here. So they're kind of trending between this, $2 range and this $12 range. They recently got up to that $12, $15 range, trying to break out, and we're maybe seeing something like this, where they really continue to rock it up. That's kind of what we're looking at there with APLD. But again, have a plan together. Long term, I am long term on APLD, but we play the short term trades. And right now, for a short term trade, they don't look the best. If we wanted to enter a short term trade, we'd have to have a tight stop, probably around 1380, somewhere in here. We'd look for probably a pullback at market open. That's when most of the moves happen. We'd probably buy a dip and we'd have a stop fairly close. We'd look for that 10, 15, or 20% margin for profit on the stock. And right now it's kind of up there. So maybe we see a pullback, get back into that $12, $11 range. That would look good on the shorter term. Long term, we continue to add on the dips. Just kind of looking for that opportunity right now on the short-term trades. Doesn't matter though. I mean, you could enter right now. It just seems like you don't have the probability of maybe the RSI, the MACD, or the support and resistance really acting in your favor. It's more, I guess, a little overbought, overextended on the RSI, MACD, and the chart. You could just kind of see it's up there. So, from a probability perspective, it seems like it's got a little bit working against it on the technical side. Fundamentally, though, and over the next year and stuff, I would imagine it's going to see some growth there. For a breakout, we would need to break about 1550. Johnny says, I think AI and space stocks will continue to start to become profitable. That's how it seems to be playing out right now. That's right, Johnny. Someone says, Will, what's the best moisturizer for my BBAI diamond hands? That's funny, man. Probably, let me see. I have this really good moisturizer actually. Let me show you what it is. Oh, I didn't realize I was like so slouched in my chair. So I got this, it's not plugged. It's from Trader Joe's. It's I just got it again because I just got the other bottle was empty. But basically, man, let me tell you, I'm plugging them here. They have different, they don't have like like soybean oil or some crazy stuff. I was just looking at this body wash that my wife and I got, and we're like, we're not going to use that. And it was like some crazy seed oil. Like they were like soybean oil and like sunflower seed oil. I'm like, why are we putting that on our body? But this one, it uses like, what is it? Jojoba oil. It doesn't have any like nasty stuff that you'd probably most likely be allergic to. And every time I put it on, I don't feel like, oh, you know how you feel swollen after you put like moisturizer? Sometimes I feel like that when I don't have the right one. But this one makes me feel like kind of refreshed, but it's really good too. It really refreshes, and it's fragrance free, so it doesn't smell like anything. So I kind of like that too. It's got a slight smell, but it's like really nice. It's got a Moroccan argan oil in it. So, and it's from Trader Joe's, and it's called Midsummer Night's Cream. I don't know, man. I like it. So there's your answer for your diamond hands. Like if you got diamond hands on a stock, like, and you need to like loosen things up, yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, it's crazy you had it right there. Someone says, you don't need moisturizer, soft hands, Will. No more trading behind a desk. You need to start truck driving or doing construction. Well, dude, I've done construction. My dad's a general contractor, actually. See the walls behind me? I actually built them. See the kitchen? That was empty a few months ago. See the tile on the floor? Put those in. You see those nice recessed lightings? Before those were there was no drywall. In fact, that whole wall had to be furred out 1.5 inches with 2x6s because the 2x4s were not covering the entire footer of the foundation. So basically reframed that entire kitchen along with putting up these walls. And oh, did I mention enclosing the garage door and tiling up the kitchen and putting in a custom sized 75-inch bathtub? I mean, that was after we had to dig out the concrete because it's a concrete foundation for the plumbing. Not so easy, my man. No, some people don't know this, dude, but I used to actually work in solar I was a project manager, and I probably shouldn't have been because I wasn't that, like, I was pretty new, but I used to install. And I used to do that for a few years. I actually have some screenshots a while back when we were averaging into NVIDIA. It was $20 a share. So basically, I've been in blue collar before, man. Yeah, you're like, well, I guess you don't have soft hands. Yeah, I got calluses, man. You want me to show you? Can you see my calluses? You can see them. Oh, yeah, dude. That's what's up. Yeah, so, I mean, when it comes to construction, man, I get it. I get it, bro. But I'm not here to prove anything to you. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to, making money with, like, stocks, I would much rather earn money and be able to travel and enjoy more free time than continually, build and construct things, just how it is. Yeah, what else? I mean, tying the rods together, the when building foundations, like doing all the rebar and stuff like that. Laying, like, I've done like huge foundations with straight concrete bags. I'm not gonna go too much into it. But I've definitely built houses before. And my dad was a driller, actually. So I get that whole side of things. My mom was a flight attendant. My dad was a driller. And my dad used to drill. And he actually invented a way of drilling. He invented a bit. Not oil drilling, well drilling, water drilling, testing, all over the United States. One of the hardest jobs, really. And now he does like all of the underground systems for like gas stations, Chevrons and stuff specifically. Um, but I'll tell you what, like I've done a lot of blue collar and I actually really enjoy it. But I'll tell you, like, when you don't have a choice and your body's feeling like very beat up and you don't want to do it, it usually feels better to have some freedom and be able to do what you want to do, you know? Like, so that's why I've always focused on like building our portfolio. And like, that's why I was bringing up NVIDIA. When I was making 20 bucks an hour or less, I think it was probably 16 bucks an hour, and I probably got a raise years ago when I was doing solar installations before I joined as a financial consultant in Boulder, and I moved from California to Boulder for 2 years and stuff. Before I did that, I actually would just take our paycheck and like literally work on just buying 20 bucks a day of NVIDIA, and it was $20 a share. Imagine that. $20 a share for NVIDIA, and you're buying like a share for 20 bucks. It was crazy. And then they like went up, and it was an interesting time. Also got to see the whole like solar boom with like Enphase Energy and Solar Edge. And I was looking because I was installing all those things, and I was like, wow, these are interesting. This is around like, what was it, 2020, something like that. I was like, these are interesting. Like, I'm gonna buy their stock, and that went crazy. That stock is absolutely wild. Like all of those companies went crazy and then basically crashed as well. Yeah, Tom's like $20 a share pre-split is bananas. Yeah, I think I have a screenshot somewhere. Like I definitely have a screenshot I could show you. Or I can pull it up on my phone probably. Let me see if oh, my phone died. Okay. I showed it a while back though on Robinhood. Pretty cool. But the reason I say that is because like you don't have to work. Like if you're working by the time you're 65 and you're still in the trenches and you don't want to be in the trenches and you're doing blue collar or something like that, that's on you. Like you're going to have to work on building out other streams of income, building out, like get smart about where you're putting your money, like multiply it, you know, and be able to get into a position to you know, not like put your body through so much stress. I think that's really important. So that's why we cover these stocks. Hopefully they're helpful for you guys. Hopefully you got value out of them. Heavy Hitter Highlights says, what's the best robotics stocks? I'll go over to my robotics watch list. You could take a screenshot, but we have an upcoming, we have a video coming up tomorrow where we're doing the top 5 robotics companies. But you can take a screenshot here. Here's some of the companies that we follow fairly closely. Probably take this one out of there. There you go. Feel free. I think this one actually is not robotics either. Pretty good to look at those. I love it. Appreciate you all. Thanks so much for tuning in. When it comes to the growth of robotics, could be AI, could be quantum, could be space stocks, aviation stocks have been very interesting. But again, quantum stocks have been really interesting as well. We're actually trading some quantum companies this morning. If you guys ever want to tune on in to the live sessions, we hold them there every morning at market open. And if you ever want to join in, it's going to be the second link in the description. Now, we have all of our targets for the week releasing this Sunday, and we do all of the targets. We actually had a slightly bearish target here for example, Super Micro. You know, it was up there around $60 a share. We were looking average of about a 24% negative downside there. This was released before their earnings there. $43 a share is what we were projecting. So sometimes we're bearish, you know, it's not always that we're bullish. And they ended up pulling down to, by the end of the week, look at that. They literally pulled down that 24%. They literally sold off, and end of the day, at one point they were down to about $44. So, you know, that's, you know, the power of getting some good targets. We have targets on all the stocks that are reporting earnings for the week. And we also have when they're reporting, so you can get an idea of the pre-market, the after hours, And a lot of the biggest moves, when they do happen around earnings. Most of every day, though, for general stocks are going to be right at market open. So if you ever want to get those targets, along with surrounding yourself with other investors, there's some great outlooks on different companies here from some members. There's also some really good testimonials we see. There's been some doubling of accounts. I think I saw him tuned in. David, were you tuned in here? I think I saw you. David was tuned in here to the live session a few minutes ago, but he commented just a while back that he had had the ability to actually double his account, 100% all-time returns. So he just hit this milestone. I don't know if David's still in the chat, but he was here just a few minutes ago. $28,000. He grew from 14,000 up to 28,000. He doubled his portfolio in 4 months. And in joining Stockmate, that has been a huge difference for him. Lawrence has had very, very similar experience, and he's told me that he's had some good returns as well. A couple $1,000 days that we've been able to catch. I just got off the phone today with Matt Evans, actually one of our top members. He's up very, very much as well. He was saying he was doing quite well since joining Stockmate. His portfolio is up. So I tell you that not to guarantee your results, but to tell you that we're live every morning at market open, and in those market sessions, you're going to see how we do the technicals, the fundamentals in AI, quantum, space, tech stocks, and we're there on the dot at 6:30. So you get a email in your inbox, and you also get access to some technical and fundamental lessons. But on top of that, you get to surround yourself with other investors and get a free t-shirt when you join. I'll send it to you anywhere in the world. And for a limited time, we have lifetime access. If you want to get access to those recurring live sessions, but pay it once, not have to go through the subscription, and that we're rolling out and changing some of our models there, you can get access still for a limited time in the second link below. Appreciate you all. I would encourage you to simply take a look there. When it comes to the stocks we went over today, really appreciate you all. There was one last question on SEALSQ. SEALSQ is a quantum company that's doing cybersecurity. Last we checked with SEALSQ, and I was answering this for, who were we talking with? Who was talking with us about SEALSQ, and they wanted the breakdown. Who was it? SEALSQ. Was it Steven? Was it... Who was it? I don't know who it was. Thomas. There we go. Thomas says, don't forget about SEALSQ if you find the time. Appreciate the evaluation of the financials you do with stocks. Yeah, let's take a look. So SEALSQ, they basically have had some focus because they're doing cybersecurity for quantum. The only problem with them is they're not partnered with the top companies they would need to be partnered with to make a big impact. And the other thing is they have a lot of products and service, so many that almost makes me feel like they're not going to be able to focus. Now, they have this 3D picture. They have a lot of kind of stock photos here, and that they're focusing on a lot of different things. Kind of looks almost a little bit cheesy. They trust us. They're talking about Cisco, Siemens, and celebrates 26 years of cybersecurity. They say 1.75 billion devices secured. I'm not sure if that's like their cybersecurity, and also I'm not sure exactly how this is working. But the only thing that throws me a little bit is their financials. Their financials have been negative in net income, and they haven't brought in enough revenue. See, this kind of dropped off in 2024, and in 2025, they haven't made money really at all. Their balance sheet is also up. You see they got total assets are up, which is good, but they just haven't really seen that big spike in revenue we've been looking for. And so we're still kind of watching them. While they have good assets, they don't have any major catalysts that would put us in a position to be very bullish on them. So they're about a $326 million market cap. It could change. It's just as of right now, I'm not bullish on them personally. I've just seen a lot of manipulation on the stock. So if you kind of look at it, see this big spike and they kind of pulled down, they continue to sell off. Kind of looks a little bit strange. There wasn't any real reason for that spike. So that's just something, you can invest in it by all means. If there's a specific reason you find it to be valuable, then absolutely let me know. But I wouldn't touch it because I feel like they've been manipulated a lot. And also their revenue hasn't caught up from a financial standpoint. Just not really seeing any reason for them to be in that $300 million revenue when they're losing money as of right now. So that's how it looks really on the short term. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Thanks so much. I appreciate you all. Matt Evans says, highly recommended for Stockmates. Again, if you guys, just friendly reminder, it is closing soon. If you want to join, it's the second link down below. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Tomorrow we'll be doing the robotics overview. If you want to catch that, don't forget. Now, also, we did a full breakdown of the machine yesterday, which we had some analysis of here on AMD. We're going to be doing more of these throughout the weekend. So make sure to look out for your email. If you're a part of Stockmate, we're going to be doing some more introductions to the machine this upcoming week. So make sure to tune in. Appreciate you all. And again, if I earned your thumbs up, smash